MTV launched in 1981 with a promise to change music forever. However, nobody warned them about the bans. Some songs got banned, some got edited until they were unrecognizable. And one bonus entry from a band so tied to the sleaze era that their 1990 release still feels like unfinished 80s business. These are the 7 worst offenders. Number 7. Duran Duran, Girls on Film, 1981. We're opening with one that fooled an entire generation of parents. Duran Duran looked safe. Pretty boys from Birmingham with silk shirts and high cheekbones. The kind of band mothers pointed to when they were trying to argue that not all rock music was dangerous. But Girls on Film was not safe. The original uncensored video was wild. Models in various states of undress, mud wrestling, a pillow fight around a shaving cream slathered pole, and imagery that would have made even late-night television nervous. The explicit night version was made for nightclub play, but once MTV entered the picture, a heavily sanitized cut became the one that actually aired. What made this one so effective was the architecture of the scandal. The clean version was everywhere. The uncut version existed in rumor and whispered conversation among teenage boys who had heard it existed but couldn't quite locate it. The mystery was its own kind of marketing. The song itself is actually a sharp, slightly cynical piece of new wave pop about the exploitation of women in the media, which only made the whole thing more ironic. MTV played the clean cut. The original lived underground, and for a certain generation of British and American teenagers, finding that uncut version felt like discovering something that wasn't meant for you. Which is exactly how the best contraband always works. Coming up next is a band that took the elevator pitch somewhere MTV definitely wasn't prepared for. Number 6. Aerosmith, Love in an Elevator, 1989. By 1989, Aerosmith had done something almost nobody in rock music manages to do. They had burned themselves to the ground with drugs and internal chaos through most of the early 80s, rebuilt from scratch, gotten sober, and come back not just commercially viable, but genuinely hungry. Permanent Vacation in 1987 proved they were back. Pump in 1989 proved they meant business. Love in an Elevator was the lead single, and it announced itself without any ambiguity whatsoever. After a brief elevator operator preamble, Steven Tyler enters the song describing a chance encounter in an elevator that escalates in a direction building management would have serious concerns about. The lyrics are not subtle. They're not trying to be subtle. They are Tyler doing what Tyler always does best, which is finding the exact line between rock and roll fantasy and something that would make your grandmother put down her tea. MTV played it, they could hardly avoid it given how big Aerosmith had become, and the video itself walks a line between genuine rock spectacle and the kind of innuendo MTV could sell without pretending not to notice. What makes this song interesting in the context of this list is the craft underneath the filth. The groove is immaculate. The production, handled by Bruce Fairbairn, is some of the tightest work of that era. They wrapped something provocative inside something undoubtedly excellent and dared anyone to look away. Nobody looked away. Next up, a cover version that somehow became more controversial than the original. Number 5, Van Halen, Oh Pretty Woman, 1982. Roy Orbison and Bill Dees wrote Oh Pretty Woman in 1964. The original had a wistful streak beneath all that smooth charm. Warm, romantic, a little lonely even. Well, Van Halen saw that song and decided it needed something very different. Their 1982 cover turned an Orbison classic into something that made the original feel almost unrecognizable in spirit, if not entirely in melody. But it was not the song itself that created the problem, it was the video. The video features a storyline involving a captive figure, two little people, a samurai, and a final reveal that MTV wanted absolutely no part of. The channel banned it, not because the song was obscene in any conventional sense, but because the imagery itself was considered too much. A bound captive being fondled in the opening sequence was one problem. The ending was another. David Lee Roth defended it as satire, which was exactly the kind of behavior that made Roth both impossible to manage and impossible to ignore. MTV, meanwhile, was still young enough as a network to want attention, but cautious enough to flinch. They were both probably right. Stick around, number 4 is a Dutch band that most people half remember, but absolutely nobody who saw this video ever forgot. For the wrong reasons, of course. Number 4, Golden Earring, When the Lady Smiles, 1984. Golden Earring are one of those bands casual listeners tend to associate with Radar Love. But by the early 80s, they had also pulled off a major MTV-era comeback with Twilight Zone. That made what happened next feel even stranger. When the Lady Smiles was a hit in Europe. In America, it ran straight into MTV. The video depicts a sequence of events involving a nun on public transport that builds to a sexual assault on the nun inside a metro car. This was not a band being cheeky, it was a genuine misjudgment. MTV wanted no part of it, and the song's momentum in the United States took a major hit right there. What makes this entry interesting from a historical perspective is how completely it contradicts the band's image. Golden Earring were not known as an outrage machine. They were a serious Dutch rock band with a long career behind them. And then suddenly, here was a video so badly misjudged that MTV treated it like radioactive material. Up next is a band that didn't accidentally stumble into controversy. They moved in, unpacked their bags, and redecorated. Number 3 knew exactly what it was doing. Number 3, Mötley Crüe, Girls, 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 1987. If Golden Earring wandered onto this list by accident, Mötley Crüe arrived there by design, checked in under their own name, and ordered room service. Girls, Girls, Girls in 1987 is the Crüe doing what the Crüe built their entire existence around. The song is a tour through strip club geography delivered with the enthusiasm of men who had clearly done extensive personal research for the project. The Tropicana, the Body Shop, Seventh Veil, places that meant something specific to anyone who had spent serious time on that stretch of Los Angeles in that decade, alongside a few other famous stops farther afield. The song was credited to Nikki Sixx, Mick Mars, and Tommy Lee, which makes sense, because it sounds less like an abstract concept than a dispatch from a world they actually inhabited. The video was shot at the Seventh Veil with director Wayne Isham, and the original cut featured topless dancers. MTV rejected that first version, so a more sanitized edit had to be prepared for air. What elevates this above a simple shock entry is the song's honesty. The Crüe were not pretending to be something they weren't. Two left, plus that bonus I promised. The next one is a band that never needed MTV's approval, and probably didn't want it. But what they did still made executives uncomfortable, and that is worth talking about. Number 2, Jane's Addiction, Mountain Song, 1988. Jane's Addiction occupy a unique position in the landscape of this list. Every other band here was operating within the commercial rock framework to some degree. They wanted radio. They wanted MTV. They wanted the mainstream audience, even if they were simultaneously trying to unsettle it. Perry Farrell's posture was different. He did not seem interested in smoothing the edges for the mainstream. He seemed more interested in making the mainstream come to him. Mountain Song from 1988 is a sonically brutal piece of work. Eric Avery's bass line hits first, like a building collapsing in slow motion, and Dave Navarro's guitar turns the whole thing ferocious. The video does nothing to soften the edges. The imagery includes full frontal nudity, specifically footage involving Perry Farrell and Casey Nicole, the kind MTV would not air in its original form. The network refused that version outright. A censored cut was eventually created for limited MTV play, but by then the point had already been made. Jane's Addiction were offering something darker, stranger, and less negotiable than MTV's version of alternative rock. And in a way, that made the band less decisive than MTV probably hoped. Jane's Addiction were building their audience through college radio, clubs, touring, and underground momentum that the network didn't fully control. And now, number 1. Still one of the biggest bands in the world, a video that got banned almost immediately, and a reason for that ban that says more about 1982 than anything else on this list. Number 1. Queen. Body Language, 1982. Queen in 1982 were not exactly a band in need of validation. They had already filled arenas and stadiums across multiple continents. They had made Bohemian Rhapsody. They had outgrown the ordinary rules most bands still had to worry about. But Body Language was still a risk. Body Language is the sound of Freddie Mercury deciding that ambiguity was no longer interesting to him. The song is funk-influenced, rhythm-driven, and built around a lyrical directness that strips away the theatrical flourishes that had defined so much of Queen's earlier work. Freddie is not being poetic. He is not hiding anything behind metaphor or costume or elaborate staging. He wants what he wants, and the song says so plainly. The video was banned by MTV. The clip's mix of sweat, flesh, steam, and physical closeness was deemed unacceptable in 1982, with MTV objecting to both the exposed bodies and what were widely described as its homoerotic undertones. The band's members themselves were fully clothed. Queen did not get in trouble here because the song was the crudest thing on television. They got in trouble because Body Language made certain implications impossible to miss, and early MTV panicked. That is an interpretation, yes, but it is one the band itself strongly invites. In the UK, the single was only a modest hit. In the US, it did much better, but the video controversy lasted, and it turned Body Language into something more revealing than just another band clip. Not the most explicit song on the list, not the most outrageous video, the one that exposed the most about the culture that rejected it.
Body language. Body language.
And because the decade still had one more sleazy little loophole left in it, there's one more entry worth your time. Bonus. Ratt. Lovin' You's a Dirty Job, 1990.
Loving you is a dirty job.
Technically, this one falls outside the decade. Lovin' You's a Dirty Job arrived in 1990, which means it misses the cutoff on paper. But Ratt were one of the quintessential Sunset Strip bands, and this song still sounds like it belongs to that world. It has that polished, teasing, hard rock groove they had down by then.
Loving you is a dirty job.
With Warren DeMartini's guitar keeping everything slick and sharp, while Stephen Pearcy delivers the lyric with exactly the kind of grin you want from a song like this. The title tells the joke up front, and the rest of the song follows through with pure innuendo. No restraint, just Ratt doing what Ratt did best.
Is a dirty job. Loving you.
MTV drew a line early. These bands spent the rest of the decade stepping over it, around it, or straight through it. Which one of these got the harshest treatment from the censors? And which one honestly earned every bit of the ban it got? Tell us in the comments!